Hello there. I'm Katerina with Speak to Learn English. I'm really happy to be back today and hope to be back much more consistently. Today, I want to talk about the audience that I think I have so far, which is mainly intermediate English speakers. If you are someone who's reached the intermediate level, it's kind of easy to plateau there. And I want to talk about a few tips today that can help you keep progressing and keep advancing toward fluency. Because when I've spoken with my students, that's what people want. They want to feel more confident speaking English. They want to be able to express themselves better and understand people better, and just feel like when they speak English, it's not stressful anymore, and that will open up different opportunities in their lives. So let's talk about how you get there. And the first thing has everything to do with the title that I chose for my channel, which is speaking. So we gain confidence in something by seeing proof that we're able to do it to whatever degree our current level is. Sorry, my hair keeps getting in my face. Sorry. So yeah, to whatever degree we're able to do that thing, then we can build and say, okay, I was able to do it that well. Let me keep moving forward. So speaking English at whatever level you are, whether that's a beginner level, intermediate level, advanced level, continuing to speak will both keep up your skills and keep growing your skills and your confidence. And when you have a moment that I know can be so uncomfortable where you're wanting to do that, wanting to speak English, and you reach a place in the conversation where you either get lost or there's something that you want to express and you have trouble expressing that, instead of interpreting that as a failure, or that like, oh, see, this is why I don't like to do more than I can, or like I don't like to push myself, um, see that as an opportunity. That's an opportunity, and that's showing you, okay, this is where I can grow. This is what will be best for me to work on to keep getting better and to keep advancing in my English. So the first thing is keep speaking, and if you can, unless you are literally just only communicating in English all day, every day, because you live in a country where the language is English and that's the only option that you have to communicate with people. Like, in other words, you don't have other family members at home where you speak your native language. See where you can add in more speaking. So the next thing that goes along with that is expanding your vocabulary. And when you speak English more, when you increase the quantity, if you do it with, this is maybe a new word for some of you, if you do it with intentionality, so in other words, you do it with a focus of this is to improve, not just to increase volume, but when you increase the quantity with the intentionality of also improving the quality, then when you get to those situations where you want to say something and you can't think of the word, don't just let that pass. Again, this is an opportunity for where you can grow in your English speaking skills. So look up that word or use a translator to translate, okay, what would be the right way to express this whole idea, because I didn't know how to express the idea that I was thinking of. So you may translate a word or you may translate a sentence, and then work with that information to more deeply process it into your mind and increase the likelihood that it'll be there and available for you and easy to remember when you need to use it again, and review it, right? So I know that it's kind of old school to write things down and review them, but it is an effective way to learn to like review and test yourself. Not necessarily like a test where you get graded, but just try to think, okay, what English word did I look up yesterday? Can I still remember it? Can I remember what it is? Can I use it in a sentence? And things like that. So, increasing vocabulary and also increasing your repertoire of English idioms and expressions and understand, the first step with idioms and expressions is understanding what they mean. And then the next step is being able to use them yourself in conversation. The quicker you try to use them, the stronger your own recall or memory will be for when you hear them as well. And so that all goes with speaking. And, when you have a stronger vocabulary, then it's easier to speak because you have more words to use. So that really is effective for any level of English. The next thing that people find at the intermediate level is that they become more conscious of their pronunciation, of where they're pronouncing words, because they're probably speaking with English speakers more, where they're trying to say something and it's not being understood well, or maybe they become a little bit conscious of their accent. So this might be you. Maybe you have become more conscious of your accent for wherever you're from, if you're not a native English speaker. Everyone has accents, right? Even English speakers, you can either have, well, not either, it's not two options, but some examples are an American English accent or a British English accent or an Australian English accent, right? So there are these different accents even among native English speakers, and even within, a country, as I'm sure you are probably aware of, that there's, like, for the United States where I'm from, there's a Southern accent and a Boston accent. And so accents are part of language, where the concern is does your accent prevent people from understanding your message? And some people are very interested in reducing their accent to not have it be as noticeable and not have it be like a constant topic of conversation, which is absolutely fine too. But if you like your accent, I would say think about pronunciation in the sense of, is it making harder for people to understand me because I haven't worked on certain aspects of pronunciation? If you watch to the end, I will share one facet of pronunciation with you that, especially if you're from a Spanish speaking country, may be something that you do. And I'll give you some tips to work on that at the end of the video. Okay, but getting back to our topic of tips for intermediate English speakers, is another area to work on is listening or understanding English speakers, especially for different accents than you're accustomed to and in more casual speech. I saw something recently that at the beginning I wasn't even sure where the person was going with it, but they had on a whiteboard Jeet, Jeet, and it was teaching, I guess, pretty much a reduction in English of going from did you eat to did you eat? Jeet, right? Kind of going all the way down. But if you haven't, you know, even if you're not used to hearing people speak in that way, where they're trimming off parts of words or like almost leaving out like whole sections, like like if you go from did you eat to jeet, that's a jump, right? That's something that you would have to practice hearing and understanding, and just hearing it like this, like in this random example out of context. Yes, it has some purpose, but hearing those things in context, in a conversation, have it has just a different level of benefit for you. So there are a couple of different facets of listening and understanding. So one is, if you're watching a video like this YouTube video where you can slow things down and repeat or turn on subtitles, and that's true with videos, movie shows, yes, that will help. But the back and forth exchange of actual live communication just takes that to a whole nother level. Because if someone says to you, Jeet, and you have no idea what they mean, then the natural thing to do is to say something like, I'm sorry, what? I don't understand. And then they'll translate, they won't be like, well, let me translate that for you. But they'll naturally translate and slow that down or actually enunciate each word and say, did you eat? Or maybe like somewhere in between, like, did you eat? And but it's closer to what you've heard from English teachers or in more structured English situations. So then you can make that connection like, oh, this person thought I would understand when they said jeet and they meant, did you eat? And so that live, like, okay, I was expected to understand this, it just has a different impact on our internalization of new pronunciation and new phrasing. So, again, this goes back to actual live speaking, seeking out, creating opportunities where you speak English. It's just going to be so helpful for you. So, all ties back to the first one. Okay, so those are the tips. If you don't want to do the pronunciation part with me, then feel free to wrap it up here. Please do subscribe and share if you found this useful. And if there's one aspect of this that you would particularly like to see me talk more about in future videos, let me know in the comments below. Or if there's a specific question that you have that I could help you with or answer, please feel free to comment below and let me know. English related questions, of course. And now, let's talk about one facet of pronunciation, especially for people from Spanish speaking countries, is one example of where I've seen people have this pronunciation pattern, which is we have the letter S with another consonant after it. So, like SN or ST or STR. So, some words are like strike and sniper, sprinkle. So SP is another one, but any S consonant or S and two other consonants in American English, which is the pronunciation that I'm most familiar with and teach, we just go straight into the S. Whereas in Spanish, the like ingrained pattern is if it's going to be a word with S and then another consonant, then we put an E sound, an A in front of it. So that does still show up in some places in English. Like a few seconds ago, I said especially, right? So that is the the correct pronunciation is especially, and it's written with an E. But another word that I've heard people pronounce with that eh sound in front of it is specifically. So, specifically, as an American English speaker, I'm going to start that with an s sound, not an s sound. It's not s specifically, it's just specifically. Um, so, how do you get used to practicing this? So, first, let's just do a shorter word. So, we're going to use the word snake. If you extend that S sound, because there are words in Spanish where we just have the S sound, like solo, right? So it's not that you can't say an S sound first in a word, that's something that's definitely within your abilities. So we just extend that S sound and then go into the rest of the word. So I said we would use the word snake. So this is what you would do. This is what you'd practice. You're retraining your mind and the muscles of your mouth to do this without having that first. So where you might be accustomed to putting the first, the wrong way to pronounce this would be to say a snake. It's not what we want to do. So we want to just start that with the snake, right? So just extend that S and then go into the rest of the word. Snake. And then a very similar word, steak, right? So we're not going to say a steak, we're going to say steak. If there's a word that has S and then one or two consonants after it that you constantly use, and you can check on yourself to see if you're doing est to go into that word, like a strike or a spirit, by recording yourself talk to someone on the phone, or like just recording yourself read something in a way that feels pretty natural to you, and then listen back to that recording and see, okay, is this a sound that I need to work on? It's a great thing to do, by the way, just to record yourself in general, and then especially once you get to that intermediate level, you can often catch when you listen to your recording, like, oh, I'm doing this or I'm doing that. But focusing again on this S plus consonant example, if there's a word that you use often, practice that word daily, even multiple times a day. You can practice in front of a mirror, you can practice on video so you can watch yourself and see how you did. Um, but let's go back to that long word specifically. Specifically. So you just extend that, and then you work on doing it without the long, super long S, just like maybe a medium length S sound. Specifically, specifically. And then you don't want to, it's difficult to communicate well if you're harping so much on, like, oh, am I pronouncing the S plus consonant right? Like when you're actually in a live conversation. So the reason that I say practice that daily or even multiple times a day, if there's a certain word or maybe a few words that are part of your day-to-day conversation or vocabulary that's really common for your occupation, your job, if you practice it frequently outside of conversation, you're training both your brain and your muscle memory to go toward the correct pronunciation when you do need it in a day-to-day conversation. And you may catch yourself, right? If you're talking and you say, "Oh, the clock just struck 5," but you say the clock is struck 5, then you might catch yourself and say, "Oh, I meant struck." And depending on how comfortable you are with the person you're talking to, you might say, "Oh, I meant struck," right? You might even do that medium length struck to help yourself sound this down, help yourself get it. So I hope you found that super helpful. And again, let me know in the comments if this is something you'd like to see more of, or if there's a different something that you'd like to get more guidance on as far as improving your English, or if you've watched all the way to the end but intermediate tips are not what you need, please feel free to let me know what you need. I want to help. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.